What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Rams Brothers. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and the other great host of this show, Nick. And Nick, the season is here. Training camp has finally begun. The Rams kicked off their training camp on the 23rd of July. So first couple of days of training camp is underway. But first and most importantly, how are you, my good brother?
I'm good. I've seen some friends of mine be able to go to like the season ticket holders early access where they, kind of the players come up to them and it's this whole big fun thing, which is just really cool to see them, like the players and the organization care about the fans and whatnot. It's just exciting. It's like we don't have to cherry pick ideas out of our brain for content for these episodes now that training camp has begun.
Yeah, now that training camp is here and the preseason is right around the corner, I want to remind everybody to like and subscribe, right? A lot of good content coming out. We have training camp videos that we're posted 3 yesterday, posted 3 the day prior. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Tons of shorts. We're going to have a video every single week that we're putting out discussing training camp, discussing preseason. So here for everything Rams related news, we got you guys covered. And we greatly appreciate you guys. Like all the Rams fans, even though LMU isn't fully prepared to host a ton of fans, right? A lot of fans are saying the sun is the issue. There's limited food options. It's not the perfect facility for the Rams. As of right now, just to be able to host the entire fan base. And then also, obviously the players too. Sean McVay's having issues. He's got the sun in his eyes. Used to have issues with the wind. And now it's the sun.
A hat. Get him a hat. Or like a visor. Because I know he's worried about his spiky up hair. But just get him a visor because then the hair is still intact. Pull the old WP.
He'll never do. Could you imagine Sean McVay in a visor? He'll never do it. He'd rather go aviators or just shield himself from the sun as much as possible. So
he needs like 20 plus years in his coaching career before he gains like 15 pounds and becomes the next V.
He likes to make it hard on himself, but a ton of appreciation. And we have specifically for the Rams fans who have taken time out of their day to go to training camp and their week, right? Like, because some of these are open practices, some of them are exclusive to season ticket members. We appreciate everybody that has decided that they want to go to training camp. We have some friends, we have a cousin who's actually there at training camp right now, giving us some of the inside scoop. But for the most part, we're just appreciative of Rams fans and this growing fan base. So I wanted to kick us off with that. And then also, obviously,
we had a cousin there. Who's there?
Rafe is there.
Rafe is at training camp?
Yeah, he's texting me the inside scoop. Yeah, absolutely. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, big Eagles fan, but he's there at camp giving us some breaking news. And
it's kind of like in his backyard. So yeah, I totally get that.
So we got that going on. But like originally we were like, okay, the Rams are in a perfect situation. The Matthew Stafford contract situation has handled itself. Seems like Matthew's camp is happy. The front office and the coaching staff is all happy with how everything worked out. There were no major injuries to start outside of Tyler Higbee being on the PUP list. And then we found out that Sean McVay confirmed that Darion Kendrick had torn his ACL. So obviously a depth player, right? He's not going to be a starter as he was in previous seasons, and it's going to require surgery and it's going to force him to miss the season. But I think like all major reports that are coming out are that he was really gunning to at least be in rotation at the star/nickel cornerback role because of his willingness to be able to tackle and his ability to be able to cover short areas of the field. He's a highly penalized player, but Sean McVay made a comment that he is really good at bouncing back. Like he takes criticism, he gets back on the field and he tries to learn from it. So it's kind of a shame that a young player has to deal with an ACL injury this early into training camp. But I mean, he's not a starter as of right now, so not a huge blow to the Rams in totality. But you got to look at some guys like Ahkello Witherspoon, right? Because even as depth, if Darion was going to theoretically play on the outside, Ahkello would be able to be that depth. And then also like inside, you could look at guys like Sean Jolly, some of the other undrafted players, Josh Wallace and Charles Woods, Sean McVay mentioned are getting snaps. And there's also Trey Tomlinson, right? Trey Tomlinson's a second-year guy out of TCU, had a lot of good stuff on tape in college at TCU. So we're hopeful that he could take a leap in year 2. But like you do have some options, but it's just unfortunate that this stuff kind of happens so early in camp. And then also we found out outside of the Darion Kendrick news that Darius Williams appeared to strain his hamstring on the final play of Thursday practice. So like whenever you hear Sean McVay in a press conference say, yeah, Gary, hey, Gary, yeah, Gary, this is Gary Klein. This is the guy. But so Gary was breaking it down on Twitter, and you got now Darius Williams and Darian Kendrick both battling injuries. And the hope is that Darius Williams will be ready for week 1, 6 weeks, 4 to 6 week time frame with the hamstring. So definitely difficult.
Yeah, this stuff is going to happen. I mean, the first day, you typically don't see it like this early on, but it hits every team. As far as Darian Kendrick goes, I saw a lot of people like worried, like, oh, well, maybe this is a place where they can like test the market and see if they can bring in somebody that's like a known star or nickel. But I really don't even think they have to be doing that, to be honest with you. I think who they have right now, I think is. I mean, he was maybe going to be in rotation week 1, maybe not. So we'll see where that goes. It sucks though. It absolutely sucks. He was a big part of the defense last year. So it sucks to see somebody go down so quick.
Yeah, I mean, you like to be able to have options, right? I mean, and you bolstered up the secondary so that you have options and you don't have to rely so much on Darian Kendrick. You can move him around and use him to the best of his abilities. But like outside of these 2 major injuries and Tyler Higbee, like everybody reported training camp on time. All players were accounted for on day 1. And you got to give some credit. Darius Williams is 31 years old, which is like 75 years old in cornerback years. But like Trey White, I mean, everybody thinks that Trey White is older than Darius Williams. He's only 29 years old, but at the same time, he's already practicing. He's coming off an Achilles tear that happened in week 4 of the 2023 season against the Dolphins, and the Rams have him on a 1-year deal worth $10 million. So, I mean, he's definitely a guy, if you can bring him along and get him limited snaps in training camp and even keep him on the sideline during preseason, if he can add value on week 1 and in a limited fashion all throughout the entire season so that you can sustain his health towards the back half of the season, he's a proven commodity. And you still have like $8.4 million to play around with in terms of your cap situation. And that's not taking into account what's going to change when Matthew Stafford's contract details come out. So I think the Rams situation is just fine. Like there is an expectation set, that this kind of stuff is going to happen in training camp. It's just unfortunate that it happened a couple of days into it. Yeah.
And just to know that like we're starting training camp, I feel like the last couple of years, it's been like Kupp kind of is coming off of an injury.
Yeah.
Stafford's coming off of an injury. Like to have them just both be ready to go and then adding Puka to that, who is like kind of like the big 3 like offensive guys right now. That is the most exciting thing I think to come out of these last couple of days and watching them just like, Stafford to Puka is like absolutely. And I mean, I know like the character of Matthew Stafford would say that he was not going to miss any of the training camp, even if there wasn't a resolution yet. And lo and behold, he's here. But that resolution came. I was a little worried because, you're going to be missing these reps. And it's like these guys are like full dormitory mode. So like getting that, like those moments are like really important for like chemistry and whatnot. So it's just happy to see it all kind of go full.
Yeah, no, and you're so right because they were showing pictures, the Rams originally, of Jimmy G, of Stetson Bennett, of even Dresser Wynn, who's going to be a body in for camp. And like they were holding back the Stafford news to as late as humanly possible. So a little teaser from the Rams organization social media account, who does a great job. But then also like in terms of defensive backs, Darian Kendrick Kobe Durant is a player that we talked about really needs to step up for the Rams to have a really strong season, right? It's a guy that is eventually going to be going into a contract year. I think he's in his 3rd year as of right now, but was so great as a rookie. So whether it's outside or at the start, I mean, we have said that we have plenty of faith in his game, and he will be a huge contributor in this defense if injuries continue. And I still think even if injuries don't continue, he's going to be a mainstay. And it was reported by Jordan yesterday that he made one of the best defensive plays of the day on Cooper Kupp on a pass from Stafford on an in-breaking route. And here's a picture of it.
Yeah, so, photographed here?
Yes, indeed. Photographed there. So, I mean, Kobe Durant is a guy that we just continue, hope that he continues stepping up. And I have faith that he's going to. Very talented player. We talked about him being endorsed by Jalen Ramsey, by the coaching staff. So I have faith in that. And then we talked a little bit about Matthew Stafford's contract situation already. Ian Rappaport broke the news a couple of days ago that he received a long-awaited adjustment to his contract, and the renegotiation will result in him showing up to training camp. So Stafford's been in the building. He's been in training camp. Everything is good to go there. And he looks, the reports on skinny Stafford, he looks like a brand new person, nice and tan, the veneers. Like when he's up at the podium, like he looks good. He looks younger than he ever has. So, you're hopeful
Not
that
ever, but definitely younger. I think he actually does. He looks younger than he was when he came into the Rams building.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, he had the baby face when he was back in Detroit.
Yeah,
but now he's losing some weight. He looks good. So I have full confidence that Matthew Stafford's going to be great as long as he stays healthy this season. You talk about the improved offensive line. You talk about the running game. A lot of the young players that are already in the building. His ability and want to continue to prove to the casual fans that he's a great quarterback. He's eventually going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. He wants to win another Super Bowl. Like that's all at the top of his mind right now. So I have full confidence that a lot of that stuff is going to end up coming to fruition. At the very least, I think he's going to have a great next couple of years with more guaranteed money on his contract. And then, the receivers, obviously Cooper Kupp, the relationship between Stafford and Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, has just continued to grow. Like Cooper Kupp was talking about in an interview, I think it was every single day of the week he mentioned that him and Puka were working out at 6:00 in the morning. So Cooper Kupp has gotten criticism in the past for being an overworker, right? He likes to put a little bit too much stress on his body, likes to work as hard as humanly possible to sustain success. But the way that he's bringing along Puka, you could even see like within Puka, like just his body looks a little bit thinner. He looks like he's going to be a little bit smoother in and out of breaks. The ability to have to run all those short motions, run back and forth in the formation pre-snap before the ball's even snapped, you have to be able to be nimble. You got to be in shape to be able to do so. And it looks like he's the part. I mean, he's everything that we need him to be right now.
Puka Nacua last year after a game, my friends went to Raising Cane's, like right by the stadium, and he was there. And he was just like super nice and giving everybody like high fives and hugs and whatnot. I feel like he is elevated to like LA stardom now, where it's like he's like, the full, like, I'm paying for people to make sure that my body is in like peak condition throughout the season. Like I am like, now, and like he really is, especially now that Donald stepped down, Puka Nacua is a pillar of this Rams franchise, like 100%. So like they foresaw Robert Woods' role and he like surpassed that. So we might not be able to catch him at Raising Cane's this year because he may have somebody grabbing it for him. But at the same time, it is just awesome to see, because as Cooper just kind of gets like older and older, that there is like, the next model right there. It's just going to be really great. And as long as we have Stafford throwing him the ball and it's not Jimmy G or, a Voldemort, he who should not be named, Stenson Bennett, then I think he's going to have another breakout season. Dean actually has Puka on the keeper this year for our fantasy league because he got him like in like the 7th round. So genius call by Dean.
Oh, I got him way later than that. He wasn't on anybody's radar. Yeah. So I'm pumped about that, obviously. But just like you said, next man up. Coop's getting a little bit long in the tooth. He's already 31. He'll be 32 in June of next year. But Jordan Whittington is another guy that everybody really likes to talk about. He's continuing to grow. Considering his versatility, I would expect him to get some snaps early on this season when Cooper and Puka need breathers, because he has versatility between the slot, which is the F, and the Z, where you see Puka Nacua line up a ton. And he showcased some of his best ball while playing in the big slot at Texas under Sark. So McVay did mention yesterday that he has a long way to go still, but I'm really, really encouraged in this receiving core. Right, the fact that you got Demarcus Robinson, you can't fail to mention him at all. And then also Tutu Atwell, who now is going to be used in kickoff return scenarios as the Rams are gearing up for their new kickoff rules that are implemented by the NFL. So the only big change
no
that the
Boston
NFL
Scott
made.
situation there?
Well, Boston Scott may return punts. But
Right.
I think Tutu he's at least getting in the rotation of guys who can potentially return kicks. Jared Verse, Tutu Atwell, and Boston Scott. No Jared Verse. No.
Yeah, that would be cool though. Like one of those like big man touchdowns where they just hold it like this and just.
Yeah, he's going back to the defense for a second. You saw that one snap that we posted on Shorts on YouTube where it was just Braden Fisk and Jared Verse just creating pressure just by being able to be strong, being able to, get past the front line, whether it's Steve Abula, whether it's Alaric Jackson. Those guys have strength and they have speed and their footwork is great and their agility is great. Like, they're going to continue to progress. So I just love so far what I'm seeing from those two guys. And that's obviously BY number 0, but like Fisk, BY, Kobe, and then also Jared Verse, like talking about pass rush by committee. Aaron Donald's not there, but those 4 guys are going to be the mainstay of the front of the defense, and they're going to be super fun to watch. So encouraged by what we got there so far too.
Yeah. Especially now that you have built finally like the offensive line that Stafford can like legitimately stand behind. The expectations for this year as a whole are just kind of like growing and growing. And you look at the timeline with Stafford and Cup, and you're just sitting here and you're like, okay, if it's not this year and it's not next year, then this that third year will probably be we're going to push everything all in. And I feel like if they think that with who they have right now, halfway through the season, if they get to the point where they're like really comfortable and they're like cruising and riding, I guarantee they would make another chips all in type of move and like go out and get the Von Miller of right now, whoever could like come in and just immediately make an impact. Because I really think, the 2 injuries that we have right now are definitely tough, and they're gonna add up. But right now, I know it's just camp, but I'm just so excited for the potential of this team, and I think they're being slept on a little bit, which I kind of like.
Oh, 100% they're being slept on, and that's really the fun too. Is like you're going to carry some cap. Matthew Stafford's contract's going to open up some. You're going to leave the door open for Aaron Donald potentially, and then there's also maybe another guy that you could bring in that could help kind of bring them over the top, or at least get them back to the NFC Championship, which would still be overachieving in my eyes. But the expectations continue to rise as training camp, as preseason continues to progress, and this whole offseason really, like another really good draft class. Same kind of situation as last year, low expectations, overachieved. So I'm excited about that. Even guys like the perfect example is a guy like Colby Parkinson and Davis Allen. Like, they're in for huge career years. Tyler Higbee can be, he could take his time recovering as he's going to probably start camp. He's definitely going to start camp on the physically unable to perform list, but the season as well. So I love what we're seeing there. You need some development from guys like Steve Abula at center. You just hope that he can continue to progress, because like the expectation is for him is that he's going to be a Pro Bowl center, the same way that he was able to step in and play left guard 100% of the snaps on offense. And then also Kevin Dotson too. Like we talked about the offensive line. I could deal with the Darian Kendrick injury, Darius Williams being sidelined until, the start of the season. But then hearing Kevin Dotson that he had a little pain in his toe, and we had to see Joe Noteboom in practice, had to shift into that slot. And then, that's a little bit concerning. But Mike Munchak is back. The offensive line consultant is back in the building. And if healthy, as we mentioned, this offensive line is 100% going to be one of the best units in football. I don't think there's any question about it. So
you said NFC Championship appearance is above expectation for you.
I think so. Yeah.
So where do you put them? Like, what is win the first round of the playoffs?
Yeah, I would say so. Right. Obviously, you're fighting for one of the top 2 seeds if something happens with San Francisco. But I would say, you go from year to year. The year that they lost the wild card round, the next year they went to the Super Bowl and lost. That was a huge jump, from 17 to 18. And 2020, when they lost in the divisional round to the Packers, and then 21, they came back, traded for Matthew Stafford, and won the Super Bowl. You're looking at a 2-round gap almost. You go from wild card to NFC Championship. And that means your team is obviously progressing in the right direction. So that's kind of where my head's at. It's
the way the chips fell last year, we are absolutely last year, we were such a better team than Tampa, but Tampa had the ability to play the Eagles because they were in such a bad division. So they were able to host the Eagles at home. Really, I feel like if you can get the division, I think the sky's the limit, because then it could potentially go through you, because then you're knocking out a huge component in San Francisco. I think winning the division, I think would be peak of their powers. And then I think a first round win would be where my expectations probably hang as well.
Yeah. I mean, and then that's also taking into consideration the win-loss total that Vegas set out, which is 8.5. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and the loss of Aaron Donald, and the loss of a defensive coordinator and a defensive line coach. And Raheem brought some staff members over with him to Atlanta. So, like, all those things are taken into consideration when the number is weighed, plus the strength of schedule. But, like, I still feel like if you get back to the NFC Championship, it's a hell of a year. And speaking of the 49ers, Jimmy G was actually getting booed by Rams fans.
Oh, guys, come on.
They were heckling him. It was being reported by Jordan that Jimmy G was getting heckled, which Rams fans, I love you for that.
Yeah, you know what? I've completely turned around in these 3 seconds. Immediately was like, oh man, like how could you do that, guys? Because he's on our team now. But then I love it. I think it's maybe the best thing I've ever heard, because it's just, I mean, I'm sure it's all in good fun. He's on the team now, but still, for them just to like razz him at all, I think is awesome.
Yeah, Jimmy G, where's Aaron Donald? How come Devontae was giving him such a hard time in the receivers documentary? Like, any opportunity it seemed like he had, he was going to go in favor of Aiden O'Connell in that Netflix documentary where he had screen time. Like Jimmy G, his popularity has fallen down. Any chance that San Francisco 49ers fans get to bash Jimmy G and use it as a direct head-to-head comparison to Brock Purdy, they will do, so that they can support their Brock Purdy argument. So, like, Jimmy G, highly criticized. I do think he'll be a decent backup, and just his insight in terms of his experience in the division and how we can better construct the defense to prevent some of the things that we failed at in previous years is going to be great. So, I like that Jimmy G's on the team, and I do love that Rams fans decided to heckle him. But we're going to talk about a lot more. It's only been a couple of days of training camp so far. So first 3 days of practice have already taken place. The third one will take place today. They're going to have a deload today, Friday. So then they're going to plan to turn it back up for Saturday's practice. So 23rd, 24th, 25th practices, 26th deload day, 27th. They got another practice on Saturday. So, a lot more news to come. Hopefully no more injuries to report on. But over the next couple of weeks, as we're getting into the preseason, we'll be sure to keep reporting on training camp, any other news that breaks, Matthew Stafford contract details, which will be really interesting to see, and anything in between, as you guys know, we're here for. So,
yeah, my favorite thing is before we do an episode, Dean is always like, all right, 10, 15 minutes max. And I'm always like, that's not going to happen. We like to do this, and we sit here and we talk, and it just keeps going. I guess, like, for YouTube, like, it like makes sense for it to be in like tinier increments. But Dean and I are from the 2018 Rams podcast days, where we would do an episode for like 45 minutes to an hour, just like completely rambling, and I would play like music clips that had nothing to do with very little to do with the Rams. So it's just fun.
It is supposed. Well, that's when we started this, we were like, we're gonna have fun with it. We're brothers. Like, it's not gonna be too serious. And then as the seasons have progressed, it's like, okay.
Yeah, they got really serious and good. So we were kind of like, oh, we gotta step up our game. And then there were like other people that were like doing it that have like since fallen off, that like were like mocking us and doing like impressions of us. It was this whole weird, insane Rams Brothers lore that maybe one day we just do an episode that's just about the lore of Rams Bros. Because I'm sure everybody wants to listen to that.
I'm sure. Yeah, sounds good. We appreciate you guys. I would love to bring back some of those music clips and stuff that we did. Like, even Nick's picks will come back too this year, so we'll have some.
If the people want the theme songs to come back, I feel like the first year I did them, they were a huge hit, and then the second year we lost some people. So if you want them to come back, let me know in the comments. If you listen this far, you're a legend as is.
Comment below if you want to hear Nick's picks again this season.
Well, no,
we appreciate you guys.
The segment is staying. I'm just talking about just the theme song. The segment's not going anywhere.
Oh, I love it. Also comment on all the videos, the training camp videos. Like, we want to hear you guys' opinion on what you guys are seeing. Fans too, like, slide in our DMs, talk to us about what's happening with training camp. We're always open. We're going to try to get to a couple of the sessions as well if we can. It's going to be tough, but we love you guys. We appreciate you guys. And as always, go Rams.
Go Rams. Thanks for listening, guys.